Hello and welcome everyone. This is Type V3, and while the age of Ultron is well and truly past us, only now has Bandai's Tamashii Nations group begun to deliver their interpretations of the famous Marvel team. Today, we're starting off with the big boy. This is S.H.Figuarts' Hulk, otherwise known as Bruce Banner's incredible alter ego. Toss the veggies out the window because Jolly Green Giant, this toy is not. Protein is the aim of the game here, what with the Hulk's huge body mass and exploding muscle definition. Bulging veins and heavy shading only help emphasize the beefy stature and sharpen up the details. It's all very impressive, yet once I got over the brawny physique, I was surprised to find that the Hulk still had more visual highlights to offer. The pants have a slight two-tone color scheme with crisp red pinstriping, as well as subtle wrinkles in the sculpt. There's even painted toenails. The general silhouette and proportions are nice and cohesive, and despite carrying massive amounts of joint cuts, they all seem to be properly masked by the figure's natural musculature. The Hulk's head sculpt is the sole flaw in terms of presentation. The quality is good, with the well-defined features and clean paintwork, but the face doesn't quite resemble the live-action Mark Ruffalo Hulk, instead opting for something a little more anime-inspired. In fact, from some angles, the figure vaguely resembles Street Fighter IV's Ryu. Furthermore, the secondary screaming face kinda gives off a Dragon Punch vibe more so than an angry temper. To be honest, I don't find it that big of an issue, still it is a disappointment from a purist's perspective. Coming in at just under the 8-inch mark, the Hulk is huge for an S.H. Figuart. However, being a non-scale figure, getting him sized up perfectly with toys not under the Tamashii Nations branding will be tricky. The Hulk's articulation starts with a simple ball joint on the neck, and you can tell that it has some excellent range going up and down, left, right, side to side, and tilting and all that stuff. I guess the weakest point is just the up motion because of his hair. It's sort of just the way it's cut. It can only go up that far. The other thing too is you've got to be careful not to push it too hard because this black hair, the paint, will start to rub on the neck if you're not too careful. For the rest of the torso, the mid-torso section here has a huge ball joint, so you can just roll that whole thing, and it's great. It's excellent. I really love it when this is included on toys. The actual waist swivel is actually just that, a waist swivel, and that's a bit surprising. It is also impeded by the shape of the shorts, so you can only go that far in either direction, and there is no back and forth on it. I kind of wish there was a bit of back and forth, but I can understand why they decided not to include it because I suppose it would create gaps in the sculpt that would just be unnatural looking. For the shoulders, you can see that there is this little cuff here, and this allows us to go forwards and backwards and still maintain a decent looking section there, which is great. There is a pretty obvious ball joint at the top, and you'll notice that there is no actual bicep swivel there because it's actually connected on this joint, so this whole thing moves outwards and it can go around. But the swivel is that joint, so you have to rotate it there. And it's a decent compromise. It's not the best option, but it could be. I mean, would I have preferred an actual joint cut? Probably not, but I guess this is a good compromise. And you can tell that it has a bit more range in all the directions. There is a double jointed elbow, which gets you about just over 90 degrees, so that's pretty okay. And then, of course, a ball joint at the wrist. Now, my biggest problem with the shoulder articulation is one, when you open up the shoulders, there is that huge gap, and I do wish he did have the telescopic shoulder technology that they usually use so that you could just squeeze it in a bit. The other thing I wish that could have been improved is just the range of motion in terms of getting the arms to come in front of him, because as you can tell, he can't really get his fists to come together, and I usually like having the Hulk doing some double fist in action, but oh well, I guess his huge body just impedes that. The hips are where I found the most problems with articulation. Basically, they're your standard S.H. Figuarts hips. The only problem is he's got very weak forward range, and that means he can't really do any front kicks, or at least not any high front kicks. So no boot to the face, which is a bit disappointing. You do have a thigh swivel, which is great. Double jointed knee. It does what it needs to do. You have the ankles are on a ball joint with a tilt, so great movement there, good pivot, and then of course a huge toe joint, and because his feet are so huge, you can actually use those without issue. The Hulk's articulation is great when you consider his bulkiness and size, though remove those qualifiers and the impressiveness diminishes. The toy's biggest limitations lie in the weak range of movement in the hips and shoulders. Accessories are practically non-existent with this release. All you're getting here are an extra set of open hands, and that's it. Granted, they do provide further options for expressive posing. Yet, I would have liked to seen something else. Maybe a broken stop sign or traffic light. Anything. Of all the Avengers, the Incredible Hulk is probably the easiest superhero to understand at face value. Essentially, he's a big green monster, and that's more or less an appropriate description of S.H.Figuarts' Hulk. Don't get me wrong, all the Tamashii Nation's finesse is present and accounted for here, specifically in the visuals, but ultimately, this is a big, dumb action figure that exists to smash up all your other collectibles. Is it perfect? No. The face could be more lifelike and the articulation could be better, however, they're hardly deal breakers. Now, I've referenced size throughout this review, and while the Hulk is large, his cost is even greater. Of course, the Marvel licensed S.H. Figuarts have always been pricier than the norm, so I guess the 9,000 yen MSRP isn't all that surprising. Regardless, that's expensive and the overall lack of extras in the box aren't helping its value proposition either. I'm a bit torn. The figure is satisfying enough for what it is, it just doesn't feel all that special. At the end of the day, S.H. Figuarts Hulk is a bit of a conundrum. It's a simple toy with a premium price tag, and I don't know if that makes for a winning combination. But that's all for me, and thanks for watching. Like I mentioned at the top of this video, Bandai has only just hit its stride with the Age of Ultron releases, and we've still got hammers, shields, and armors to get to.